Spoiler warning for the Polar Express and Interstellar. The Polar Express, a magical train that brings the children of the world who believe or don't believe in Santa to the North Pole. But you're here for my ridiculous claim that the kid, the conductor, and the hobo are all the same person. I want to squeeze in here that this kid might end up being Santa Claus too, but we'll return to that claim later. There's one thing I need to know before we start.
Well, you coming?
Where?
Why, to the North Pole, of course! This is the Polar Express!
From now on, I will refer to the main character of this movie as Blue. Blue climbs aboard the Polar Express and begins his magical journey to the North Pole. Along the way, he meets the conductor, the other kids traveling, the hobo, and of course, Santa Claus. So how can Blue possibly be all of these characters when clearly they all exist at the same time? Well, my fellow passengers, allow me to offer a theory about space-time warped not by gravity, but by Christmas magic. In the excellent movie Interstellar, we see the use of Einstein's theory of general relativity. Gravity influences time. The black hole in Interstellar is one of the main plot points of the film. Now consider for a second the Polar Express, a magic train that essentially stops time as it picks up passengers, travels across the world, and reaches the North Pole in under a few seconds. Yet we know it takes the travelers hours to get there. The train is our black hole, warping space and time. Except instead of gravity, it's magic.
What gives? It was 5 minutes till midnight 4 minutes ago.
Exactly!
Let's look back to Interstellar one more time. In the scene where the father uses the black hole to communicate with his daughter, he is simultaneously existing at the same time as his past self. Now, if my theory about this is correct, the warping of space and time by the train would allow these characters to exist together without shattering reality. Think of a timeline, but instead of moving up and down like in time travel, all of the points collapse into a single nexus. This nexus is called the Polar Express. I don't know exactly how the train does this, but we do know that it's a magic train, and capable of far more powerful magic than we originally thought.
Train, do you know what kind of train this is? Well, do ya?
Of course. It's a magic train.
So how is it that Blue ends up being any of these other characters? Let's start with the conductor. The Polar Express shows up to Blue's house and he is offered a ride. The conductor states that this is Blue's crucial year, and we know this because of his doubting in Santa Claus.
If I were you, I would think about climbing on board.
However, the conductor doesn't force him aboard. If Blue is one day meant to be the conductor, Santa, and the hobo, the conductor doesn't need to encourage him aboard. He already knows that past him is going to jump on. This line of logic will fit many of the things a conductor does, like him being unusually harsh with Blue compared to the other children.
Christmas may not be important to some people, but it is very important to the rest of us.
It's almost as if he's throwing roadblocks to test his past self's resolve. Does he believe in Santa, or is he just going along for the ride? Another detail is the similarities between the conductor and Blue, not only from their similar color schemes of blue clothing, brown hair, and similar eye color, but by performing similar actions. We see Blue spit out the clippings of the ticket punch, and later when the girl's ticket is punched, the conductor spits them out as well. But perhaps that's just coincidence. What about with the bearded engineer? Blue slips and pulls on the beard, leading the conductor to do the same moments later. Perhaps more coincidence. We also see the conductor share a story about how on his first run to the North Pole, he nearly fell off the train, and yet he doesn't fall off due to the hobo who saved him. Same as with Blue. He nearly falls off the train only to be saved by the hobo seconds later. And let us not forget when the conductor answers this question.
Who gets the first gift at Christmas?
He will choose one of you.
If the conductor is speaking with his past self, this nod is not just him being influenced by Christmas magic, but personally recalling the memory of receiving the first gift of Christmas. And what do we see when Santa does pick Blue? The conductor gives him that look of, "I told you so."
Better keep that in a safe place.
Another weird detail is the conductor's obsession with time. It makes sense that we see Blue emphasizing or being linked to such behavior when he speaks with Billy, stating that the rules don't allow kids to open Christmas presents early. And when they make it back to the group after a detour, the conductor says to Blue and Blue only, cutting it kind of close, aren't we? Perhaps this is a nod to Blue's future obsession with punctuality. He makes this comment because somewhere in the future, Blue is going to develop an urgency to be on time, and his future self knows it. That's why he makes this weirdly specific comment to his past self. I would like to now voice the tickets. The ticket is not simply permission to ride, but the single most important detail that links the conductor to Blue. What is it that he clips into the ticket? Believe.
It says...
It's nothing I need to know.
The conductor doesn't need to know this lesson because he's already learned it. He is simultaneously learning the lesson now as a boy and learned it many years ago. This farewell they share also seems weirdly personal.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Why is the conductor thanking this random kid? And for what? Because he is Blue, and by hopping on, both of their lives change dramatically, and it would only continue changing. This next section has a lot of assumptions and less evidence, but it wouldn't be a theory if I had perfect proof. So consider this idea. Blue, for whatever reason, becomes a conductor, and from there becomes Santa Claus. Perhaps for similar reasons to the Santa Claus story with Tim Allen. There always has to be a Santa, or perhaps he's always been Santa. But here is why I think older Blue, the conductor, becomes Santa Claus. Blue finds the bell with no sound. After choosing to believe, we see him develop the strongest Christmas spirit of any kid on the train. This is proven to us by the ending monologue.
At one time, most of my friends could hear the bell, but as years passed, it fell silent for all of them. Even Sarah found one Christmas that she could no longer hear its sweet sound. Though I've grown old, the bell still rings for me, as it does for all who truly believe.
And who is the one to appear in the bell in the final moment? Santa. And who is the one reading these lines? Tom Hanks, who voices everyone except Blue. Blue also states that though he's grown old, the bell still rings for him. Which, if he's an old man, Santa, with an insanely strong Christmas spirit, of course he would still be able to hear the bell, because Blue didn't grow up like his friends. In whatever way, he grew into the role of conductor, exercising his Christmas spirit yearly. And in whatever way, as an old man, he was worthy of being Santa Claus and therefore hearing the special ring of the bell continuously. Now here's another idea to chew on. Christmas will end if Blue doesn't get on the Polar Express. I say this because early in the movie, Blue's father states that the years of Blue's belief in Santa are coming to an end.
An end of the magic.
The end of the magic, but not simply the magic in Blue's own heart, but the magic of Christmas everywhere. If the conductor, the hobo, and Santa all know this because they are some future version of Blue, then everything makes a little more sense. Blue has to get on the train. This would explain why the train stopped for a kid that had all but given up on Santa and Christmas.
You are just like me, my friend. A Scrooge!
And since I've mentioned him, what of the hobo? The hobo, as far as we know, is an angel or a ghost. Personally, it makes more sense that he's a ghost, considering we see him mystically appear and disappear.
Take a break, kid!
This would make even more sense if he is the spirit of Blue, a spirit that has clouded memories of not only riding the train, but conducting it for many years. And who is it that leads Blue to the hobo? The conductor. He shows noticeable care for the ticket that Blue presents him with, and while this is the young lady's ticket, the hobo references the importance of the ticket from a life he once lived.
Oh, you better keep this in a safe place, young man.
He also ends up offering Blue a cup of joe. If the hobo was once the conductor, offering a passenger a warm drink is part of the experience, one that he echoes even in death.
What about, Santa?
Santa.
Something odd that comes from the hobo is his imitation of Santa, which, when viewed more as a memory instead of an imitation, is far more interesting. It would also make sense if he was once Santa, which is shown in his conversation atop the Polar Express with Kid Blue. He states that he is the king of the North Pole. Why? Because he was once Santa Claus.
I am the king of the North Pole!
But why is he here if everything has already happened? Space-time, black holes, and magic trains. Which would also explain the hobo's inconsistent tendencies. He is somewhat of the devil's advocate, far more of one than the conductor. Yes, the conductor presents speed bumps, but the hobo is very straightforward with his opposition. The reason he voices exactly what Blue is conflicted with is because, once again, this is a memory. The hobo is Blue. A long time ago, he once entertained these exact thoughts. It isn't an assumption of Blue's doubts. It's a memory of doubting personally.
You said it, kid, not me.
Ironic, isn't it? The hobo helps Blue reach the North Pole by intervening multiple times, when no other version of him could. The scene that holds the most intriguing interaction between them is when the hobo asks younger Blue if he believes in ghosts.
Do you believe in ghosts? Interesting.
He's casually testing to see if Blue is telling the truth. I think that if Blue didn't believe in ghosts, and therefore Santa, he wouldn't have been able to see this dead version of himself. That is why the hobo answers with,
Interesting.
Let's wrap up today's idea for those that skip to the end. Blue, the boy who will one day become Santa Claus, boards the Polar Express, a train that warps space-time with Christmas magic instead of gravity, allowing all versions of Blue to exist simultaneously. The conductor, who is obsessed with punctuality and order, is the second version of Blue, a man who grew into the role due to his sturdy belief in Christmas. The conductor, realizing the journey his past self is on, provides subtle tests of his character, knowing that his child self will succeed. After a life of serving the Polar Express, the conductor one day day becomes Santa, a man with unbreakable Christmas spirit. Santa, the future old man version of Blue, gives the first gift of Christmas to his younger self, setting the dominoes in motion. To back this up, the final monologue we see is from Blue, voiced now by Tom Hanks, as a picture of Santa Claus appears in the bell. After an unknowable duration of time, Santa Claus dies, and his ghost inhabits the Polar Express as the hobo. The spirit version of Blue does not retain all his memories from his past life. Only fragments remain that he uses to test and guide his past self. And what do we see at the end of the movie? The ghost of Blue waves goodbye as the cycle doesn't repeat but comes to conclusion. Everything has happened at the same point in time simultaneously, establishing the hidden story of Blue, a passenger turned conductor turned Santa turned ghost. Thank you for watching. Hey, Merry Christmas and Christ be with you. If you liked today's rant, check out my breakdown on Starscream, the not-so-treacherous Decepticon from Transformers Armada. And if you want to check out another Christmas movie, listen to my rant about how Tron Legacy and Santa Claus 2 are the same movie. Thanks a ton, and I'll see you next time.